book, The Liberty of Our Language Revealed. We bring about what we talk about. It has inspired people around the world to change their language in order to change their results. Kind of the thing that John was talking about yesterday. He's a former Division I athlete and coach competing in tennis and soccer. His business experience runs deep as he has owned and operated a successful 7-figure insurance agency with more than 100 agents in 3 different locations. Above all, Thomas's greatest blessings from God are being married to his high school sweetheart and being the father to their 4 precious children. And then I just want to share with you how I know and have this connection, John and I. So my brother Greg lives in Alaska. And Greg used to help us out here, but it just was a little bit far for him to travel back and forth. So, but he got involved with a Christian group called The Ruck. And it's what you wished your ex-husbands had gone to years ago. Because it was intense. It was awesome. We bonded. We were, there's a lot of experiences there, just non-denominational. The leader of that ruck, let's see, what was his name? It's, do you remember? Skylar Lewis. Yeah, Rise Up. That's what it stands for, Rise Up Kings, Ruck. He has been coached by Thomas. So Thomas coached him, has been there from the very beginning in that program, and it's just starting to take off big time now. So my brother, Greg, has been involved in that Rise Up Kings quite a bit. And he got to know Thomas and just called me up and said, hey, you got to have this guy come down. He is amazing. And so I said, well, let's do it. And so Greg made it possible to have him here. And so we welcome Thomas Blackwell. Let's give him a hand.
All right. Dismantle a couple things here.
It's okay. We've dismantled our lives.
Yeah, okay. Welcome. This is so beautiful here. Thank you for showing up. And it's been a very busy week, and this is my 5th event this week. And so I get to fly home today to Georgia and be home for Father's Day tomorrow, and then I fly to Phoenix on Monday, speak out there, and then to McAllen, Texas, and speak out there, and then Los Angeles, California, speak out there, and then just a lot of great people I get to meet all over the world. It's fantastic. And so thank you for making the effort to do this, and all the effort that's gone into the food and the facilities and the amazing signs that says Single Mothers Mindset Development that saved my life. I would have been up the mountain somewhere.
Well, I would have been the only one.
Okay, yeah. So we got to go. The thing is those little things, you know what I mean? But truly you can feel that this is inspired. Can y'all hear me in the back? Is that okay about this tone? Is that all right? Yeah, that you've been prayed over. I've been praying over you, fasting over you. Today, not knowing who I was going to meet. I haven't met any of you, not even Keith or John. Just met his brother and Greg, and so I just feel humbled, really, to be in front of you. So thank you for having me. I am the product of a single mother. Yeah. So, yeah, that is worth it. That. So. When I was 6 years old, my father came in with some clothes over his shoulder, and I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister. And my dad went on business trips often, and so this wasn't abnormal. But something felt different about this day. My mom came in and said, kids, Dad is leaving. And not really understanding that, she was saying we're separating and we're getting a divorce, essentially. And it was tough to understand for a child, and I know you can appreciate that. Didn't really understand where we were going with that, so he went, and he moved about 2.5 hours away in a little place, and we got to see him on the weekends. And I remember one particular weekend, we went to a garage sale, and I didn't understand how money all worked and that sort of thing, but we went and found this couch at a garage sale, so it did not smell good, I remember. And he bought it anyway. And that couch had played a part because later that night he woke me up in the middle of the night. And my 2 older brothers were still sleeping. I don't know why he chose me. Again, I was just 6 years young at the time. And we went over to this dingy couch, and he knelt down next to it So I just followed suit and I knelt by him and he said, son, let's bless you. No need to be sorry. That's an expression,
There
right?
you go.
Yeah. Live into it.
Of the
right?
allergy.
Yeah, no, live it. Absolutely. Own it.
Yeah.
We knelt by this couch and he said, son, let's say a prayer. I had no idea what was going and what was on my father's heart or even on my mother's heart. And we said this prayer. I don't remember what he said. I don't. But I do remember how I felt. And then he gave me a hug and he just said, always remember to pray. I said, son, you don't understand what's going on right now. But just remember to pray. And so we did. And I prayed a lot for him. Especially because we found out a few months later that he had a severe brain tumor. And within 10 months, he passed away. So now later, my mom explained that situation. Had she known, or any of us known, that he had a brain tumor, wasn't thinking right, she admits they probably wouldn't have separated. She just said he wasn't thinking right, if you can imagine. But that was the circumstance. And we all come from different circumstances. But I've had chances to forgive in my life, just like you. Isn't life beautiful? We have all these chances to forgive. And so, as life goes on, my mother, I watched this amazing woman who was a stay-at-home mom go back to school. She parked us with my grandparents and uncles so we could live, so she could be at school. And then we came back together eventually, and she supported us. She was a teacher for years. And I watched how other people also helped raise us. And it's just amazing. I am in awe of what you women do, truly. And I appreciate, because someday, and maybe you see it now, but someday you'll see the fruits of your labors. Last week we were on a cruise in Mexico, all 4 of us, siblings. It was my oldest brother's 50th birthday, so we celebrated. And all of us were there with Mom. All of us. We love her dearly. Just like if children are yours, they love you dearly. And they may not understand everything right now. But here I am talking about this 35 years later. How grateful I am that I had a single mother. Right? And she did eventually find a wonderful man that helped support us later in life, and he's become a grandpa to my kids. It's just, life is amazing how it comes out. You see that phrase up there, but do you believe it? That's the question. You have to believe it. You have to live it, that everything always works out for our good. I'm going to put a little bit more weight on that today. Well, I want to introduce my family. I married my high school sweetheart about 25 years ago. I know some of you thought I was 19. I appreciate that. But 25 years ago, we got married. And I don't know who does this, but I determined we were going to have 8 boys. Yeah, like I decided.
That's fully in control.
Yeah, just like this. So I was so confident we were going to have 8 boys, I came up with all of their names. First name, middle name, not considering she might like some names, but first name, middle name, and I already knew their last name. And I presented that to her, and she thought that was pretty cool. She thought that was pretty cool. So anyways, let me introduce you to my girls. But we have 4 daughters. I could have 10 daughters. I'm sick. My daughters are absolutely amazing. I come home from these trips. I come home from these things like that, work, whatever it might be. They cook me food. They rub my feet. They rub my head. I don't think guys would do that, Keith. I'm just saying. Right? I could have 10 girls. I'm telling you. And it's just absolutely fantastic. Let me introduce them. This is Michaela. She's 23. Charity's 21. They both just returned from serving full-time missions for our church. They've only been home 2 months. So this is almost 2 years ago. My beautiful wife, Kimberly, and Liberty right there. She's almost 15. Melody goes right in there. Melody would be 16 this year. So Melody returned to heaven when she was a little girl. So we have a little angel baby. Maybe some of you can relate to that. We're grateful for her. And so life is beautiful. Now, we have a few traditions in our family, probably like you have a few traditions in your family. One of those is we take family selfie pictures every single Sunday. And it's really to mark our spot. My work is such that as long as I'm by an airport, I can just go and speak somewhere in the world. And so we decided that, why don't we live on the road? There's these things called vacation homes these days. And you can just live in a vacation home and they have everything set up. And so we decided for 1 year's time, we were going to pack everything up, sell a bunch of things. We were living in Richmond, Virginia at the time. And go live on the road, cross country. And we did that. And in the United States and Canada, it was absolutely amazing. And here's what we validated. Not found out, but validated. Confirmed. Is that people are beautiful everywhere. Bless you. People are beautiful everywhere. I mean, we have friends everywhere. Our Christmas card list is ginormous. We could go anywhere just about in the country and we have friends there. Why do I tell you that? Because if your perception of this country, of this world, is based on media or other things, you might think we live in a terrible place. But it's not true. And again, we didn't discover this, we validated this. And I wanted my kids to see that. So for 1 year, we went coast to coast. And even lived, we're in Utah. Yeah, we're in Utah right now, so we live there. Yeah. We used to live in Cedar City, Utah. I coached the tennis team there at that university in southern Utah. And my mother-in-law lives there. We'll be there in 3 weeks. We're doing a family reunion there. So, love this part of the country. So anyway, after that, we thought we were going to live in Greenville, South Carolina. That's what we sort of felt. We landed in Greenville, South Carolina, and the Lord said, not happening. That was our plan. We didn't know what to do after that. We thought we were going to plan for 1 year. And so we got in the car, true story, we got in the car not knowing where we were supposed to go. And we just said a prayer. Where do you want us to go? We did our plan. Now, Lord, what's your plan? And we got an answer as a family. And so we went to that spot. Actually, it was that spot right there, Oak Island, North Carolina, at the beach. And then we got, because for a month or two, you'd stay in that vacation home, then you had to get out, and we'd get in the car and say, okay, where now? Should we live here? Should we get a home here? No, go here. And the next place was Washington, D.C. And the next place was La Follette, Knoxville, Tennessee. And then, and we said, Lord, you just tell us when to stop. You just tell us when we're supposed to live. That went on for 5.5 years. We've lived in 104 places in 5.5 years. 6.5 years now, right? Now, how many of y'all get excited about that? Anybody? Who just had a panic? Who just had a panic attack? Because
I've moved 40 times in 40 years.
Yes,
So that does not sound fun to me.
Okay, well,
That's too many.
it's all we knew. 104 places. So we drug around a little trailer behind us like a garage on wheels, and it's been amazing. You know what's been the most amazing thing is the first year was our year. The last 5.5 years have been the Lord's. He sent us to people who needed Him. And you gave a beautiful thought, whoever that, you know what I mean, and through grace and through other people and served, and you did too. And we've been those people. But not only for them, but for us. He put people in our lives who we needed at the time. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's amazing when you just say, leave me alone. What do you want? So that's why we take family selfie pictures to mark our spot. Now, a year ago, when our two oldest daughters went on missions, a year and a half ago, we just said, okay, we're feeling like it's time. So we settled. We actually have a home north of Atlanta, Georgia right now. This may not sound that exciting to you, but my driver's license matches my address. We're actually
It is exciting. I love it.
kind of a big deal. So that's where we're at right now. We'll see where the Lord leads us next. Another tradition is this, just probably like you, as I mentioned, we're a praying family. We bless our food. We say a prayer in the morning. We say a prayer in the evening. When I'm traveling, before I came here and lost reception, I was on the phone having phone prayer with my family. Phone prayer works too. So we do that, but one person says the prayer all day. That's our tradition. All day. Tonight, when I'm going back to the airport, we'll end prayer with her. Liberty will say the closing, on the family, and then I'll go home. But here's the tradition. After she said the prayer all day, she's in the spotlight. And what happens is everybody else will go around and say one thing they love and appreciate about her. Yeah, we've been doing that for 16 years. Tomorrow will be Charity's Day. Then it'll be Michaela's Day. Then it'll be Kimberly's Day. Then it'll be my day. Look, I love my day. I'm just saying. It's an amazing thing. 16 years we've been doing. I can tell you some of the results of that. One is this, that if contention, if ill feelings have crept into the house, maybe that doesn't creep into your house, but sometimes it does in ours. The moment we say what we love and appreciate about a person, that goes away. It's like light and darkness cannot exist in the same space. Our heads hit our pillows at night with love and appreciation for each other. It's been amazing. And some ask, where did that start? Where did that start? When our third daughter came to us, the doctor said she would not take a single breath. She had a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. In addition to that, a valve in her heart, her pulmonary valve, and as you probably know, that's the one that connects to her lungs. It was completely shut. So in the womb, she was didn't need to be able to breathe, but when she was born, they said, because that's completely shut, her heart will not receive oxygen. She will not take a single breath. We're sorry. There's nothing we could do. Nothing. Well, what would you do? We do what we knew to do, right? I figured God can open a valve. And they said, oh, you can have a comfort birth. And that's what they were going to do at the hospital, where they just make everybody comfortable, and then essentially you watch your child transition. And I wasn't okay with that. So we had her at home. And I delivered her. In fact, I delivered my last 2 babies with just me. You can do anything on YouTube these days. It's amazing. So delivered a couple babies. And anyway, when she came, she wasn't breathing. But we prayed. I don't think I've ever prayed so hard. Ever. And essentially blessed that child through a power that I have. And watched her come back to life. Amazing. My wife turned to me, my beautiful wife, and said, Thomas, she's leaving. You bring her back right now. My wife had never spoke to me in that tone, ever. It wasn't even a choice. I had to. So I placed my hands on her head and commanded her to come back, and she did. And the grace of that. So now she's breathing. The doctor says she wouldn't take a single breath. How would you live life if every breath was a miracle? Every breath. Every breath that child took was a miracle. And we didn't know when we were going to get the next one. We didn't. Well, if you think about it, isn't every breath a miracle already? Like, isn't it amazing that we woke up today? Right? That we breathed through the night? John, isn't that amazing? Right? But if you look at that way, when you see and look for miracles, you get more of them. Because you'll find whatever you're looking for. Let me say that again. You'll find whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for the miracle, you'll find it. If you're not, if you're looking for the doo-doo in life, you'll find that too. Right? Stuff shows up based on what you're looking for. And the same is with people. If you go looking for the dirt on people, you'll find it. But let me just warn you. You go looking for the dirt on people, you'll rarely escape without getting dirty yourself. But if you go looking for the good in people, you'll find that too. It's that simple. So we're the controllers of this deal. Well, because of that, what we would do, because we knew every breath was a miracle, we didn't know how long she was going to be with us, and we felt like it was borrowed time. We took her in her little baby car seat, and we put her up on the kitchen table. And it was just the 4 of us at this time. Liberty was born after her. And we would go around every single night, and just everybody would pour love into her and say something we loved about her. Yes, she was just a baby, but we wanted her to know how excited we were for her to be there and to keep on breathing. And we just spoke love that way. Well, she breathed for 13 amazing days. 13 amazing days. And when they did the autopsy on this child, guess what they found? That pulmonary valve was closed the entire time. There's no way she should have breathed. Back to grace. Right? Back to grace. Later I'd find out my wife, And your prayers, trust me, are heard amongst angels in heaven. She prayed. She knew inside. She said, Lord, I know she's going to go, but please give me a little time. And afterwards, she told me that. I prayed that I could just have a little time. So, isn't that amazing? Well, I don't know what you're going to get today. I don't know. I don't know what's looming large in your life. I don't. Everybody's dealing with perhaps some similar things and perhaps some different things. But I promise you, you will get what you're supposed to in this time that we're together. I promise you that. But I don't live life by a guessing game. I don't. It's not a guessing game to me. So what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to ensure that you get what you're supposed to get. And I'm going to give you about 60 seconds. And you're going to say a little personal prayer, whatever that is for you. Meditate, whatever you do. But I want you to ask these questions. Number 1, Lord, give me what you have prepared for me. Number 1. Number 2, help me accept it. Because I promise you something's going to show up for some of you that's going to be a little bigger to accept. So number 1, Lord, give what you have prepared for me. Number 2, help me accept it. That's your prayer. You got 60 seconds. Go. As you're wrapping that up, again, I'm going to reiterate, I promise you, you will receive your answer. The Lord will absolutely deliver in this time that we have together. I even promise you in His holy name, Jesus Christ, it will come to pass. So this just became a hallowed ground. Did you feel that? This just became a hallowed space. How often do we in a space where, however many people are here, that many individual prayers go up? So what happens, I can see this picture, Lord saying, oh, we got a level 10, right? There at the Harr Farm, the Harr Retreat, whatever we're calling this place. Our ranch, And all these angels just got assigned here. And they're here. And some of them are your ancestors. And some of them are people that are very close to you. But they're here. So, my brother-in-law, he lives in Harmony. Is that a place?
New Harmony.
New Harmony?
Yeah. Across the street from Diamond.
New Harmony?
Yeah.
It's not like the old Harmony. It's the newer Harmony.
It's the New Harmony.
Yeah. Just south of Cedar City. He lives there, and he's the oldest of 8 kids. He called me the other day, and he said, "Hey, Thomas, we did your love thing." I mean, what do you did my love thing? He says, "I know how you do this. You go around and say one thing you love about people, and I do this with companies. I've done this all over the world. I've done it in Jakarta, Indonesia, Nairobi, Kenya, 8 times in Vietnam, and 18 times in Australia." So companies will bring me in, and I'll take a company, and I'll just set up chairs in a circle, a group, a department, 10 to 15 people, and I'll put one chair in the center, and I'll say, "You're going to go around saying one thing you love and appreciate about your teammate." For a lot of people, it's a foreign language. They're not used to it. But they do it, and it's amazing what happens when I come back and visit them in 6, 9 months, whatever it is. Every facetable, measurable piece of that department accelerates. The cohesiveness, the productivity, the trust level skyrockets. Just because of that little facet, that little piece. Because, well, you might say why, and it's because the research tells us that the number one reason why a person will leave an organization, number one, it's not the dinero, it's they didn't feel valued, they didn't feel appreciated. It's like we have this basic human need that I want to feel good, I want to feel valued, I want to feel appreciated. And if I don't, I will seek it out somewhere else. So this happens in organizations all the time. So people are searching for that, so this immediately validates and confirms that, and the trust level goes way up. So it's a fascinating thing. And in families too, it's amazing, even relationships. It's so powerful that if we're not feeling validated, important, and valued, we will seek somewhere else. Naturally. We do. So the importance to have that culture speaking life and love into people. Anyway, Kyle calls me. He's my brother-in-law. He's oldest of 8 kids. And he says, hey, man, we did your love thing. I said, what do you mean? He says, my dad was turning 60 and we're having a 60th birthday party. So he said, you invited everybody in, and everybody's there, those who had spouses and whatever. And he sets up all these chairs in a big circle and then puts one chair in the center. And nobody knew what he's doing. And he goes, said, everybody sit down. And he says, it's Dad's 60th birthday. We're going to go around and say one thing we love and appreciate about him. Now he's calling me saying, it was kind of funny. Some of my brothers wanted to fight me. What if we get emotional, they said, right? Don't say what we love. They did not have a culture of speaking love and kindness into each other. But he's the oldest brother, and he rallied him to do it. You sit down and love each other, right? And so they did it. And what happened was amazing. And this is why he called me. He said, we did get emotional. Imagine that. And we'd never done anything like this. This was not normal in our family. My dad stood up after everybody spoke, and he couldn't talk for a long time. We just waited for him to compose himself. And when he finally did, he said, kids, I'm 60 today. And in all my years, that's the greatest gift I've ever received. Come on. Words, kindness, love. Yeah. Essentially, his dad never felt more valuable than in that moment, perhaps. See how powerful that is? Just with words. Then my brother-in-law, he got a little emotional on the phone. I said, what's going on, Kyle? He said, I'm just sorry I waited so long, Thomas. I'm sorry I waited so long to speak love into my dad like that. I said, well, hey, that was yesterday. Today is today. And let me explain this to you. Because I'm going to talk about some things and perhaps some habits that you were not doing before. And you might get a little down on yourself, say, I haven't done that my whole life, and you're asking me to change? Yeah. But here's what's beautiful about today. Answer me this. Will that sun set tonight? Will it?
Probably.
Guaranteed. Will it rise up tomorrow?
Yes.
Isn't this a beautiful thing that God gave us, that sun sets every day and rises the next day? That's supposed to mean that we let things set that are supposed to set. You let things go that are supposed to go to bed and be done and buried. And then that sun comes up the next day and say, well, whatever you weren't doing yesterday, you want to do today, green light. You can accomplish, be, do, add any habits you want. And I'm so grateful for that. I call it repentance, really, in some measure. But what a beautiful thing that sun's going to come up every single day. And I can put to bed, put to rest any habit, any ill feeling, and it never comes back because you only get one round. Right? And I can let it go. So I told my brother Kyle that. And I said, you can let go all the time that you feel like you didn't speak love, and you can start the habit today, and congratulations, that's your new you. I gave him a piece of hope. Well, I see that some of you have notepads and things like that, and I'm going to emphasize this. Oftentimes, what I'm saying has nothing to do with what you're hearing. Because you all have things that opportunities that you're working with in your life. Your inspiration is not what I tell you, it's what you tell you. And you're already doing it, but I'm going to encourage you to write down those things that come to you because they come for a reason. And when we honor them by writing them down, I believe the Lord blesses you with more of them. I do. I mean, think about this. Have you ever had a day, 7 in the morning, you have some change the world idea, right? You didn't write it down, and by 11 a.m. it was gone. Who's ever had this, right? So do that. Now let me emphasize note-taking because I've been to hundreds, perhaps thousands of conferences because I've spoken at thousands of them. And I'll take a bunch of notes. Have you ever gone to a conference, a seminar, a meeting, a retreat, and you write all these amazing notes and you never look at it again? Anybody ever done that? Right? Well, here I want to fill that gap for you. I believe the reason, give yourself a reason to open it up again is this. Action. Action. If you receive an inspiration, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to change about it? What are you going to implement about it? Just like that little tradition that I already mentioned that we do. Are you going to do something about that? Are you going to implement that? I was speaking in Lubbock, Texas to a group, and a lady came up to me after I came back after 6 months as a follow-up, and she's an elementary school teacher. She teaches the 4th grade at a local school in Lubbock, Texas. And she says, I took that, my action was I took that to my school. I had 25, 30 kids, whatever it is. And once a week in our classroom, we put a child's name as a spotlight all week up on the board. And everybody goes around that week speaking love and kindness and beauty into that child. It's changed the entire dynamic and culture of our class. You don't think those other kids are excited to get their name up there? You don't see what reciprocation does, that they want to speak kindness to others because they want to receive some? She said, Thomas, we have the most lovely, beautiful class now. That's how she implemented it. A guy I just saw not that long ago, I told him about this tradition years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And he was dealing with something. His wife at that time contracted breast cancer. And he said, we were not close as a family. And I went home and I said, we're going to implement this tradition. Not realizing the road that was ahead because of Mom's treatments and things. And we started doing that. He said, in a sense, that little tradition saved our family. He was in tears when he told me that. He said, thank you. I said, I tell a lot of people this. Few there be that do anything about it. So what are you going to do? So that's the thing. When you have an inspiration, what action are you going to take as a result of that? Does this make sense? Yes? One person. That's great. Yeah? Okay. 2, 3. We're getting more. 4. When we got early in our marriage, really, we decided that we wanted to just own businesses and things like that. And that's not for everybody, certainly. But we got into the restaurant business to start. Has anybody ever worked in the restaurant business? Wow, several. Has anybody ever been to a restaurant? Other people? Most of you. Just wanted to include everybody. So, this was a pizza buffet restaurant. Get this. It was an all-you-can-eat, $2.99 pizza, pasta, garlic bread, dessert, pizza, and salad business.
Where was
$2.99. It was like a CC's, but better. So it was a little franchise down where we were living. Yeah, all you can eat pizza, pasta, garlic bread, dessert, pizza, salad for $2.99. It was the dumbest thing we've ever done. So I put up a sign that said all you can eat. I didn't think people were going to do it. I had to take that sign down, you know what I mean? Stop eating, people. So I didn't know much about the pizza business or much of any business. I was 22 years young. And I remember going, and there was a previous manager and owner, and my wife and I came in to manage and work towards ownership and things like that. And I said, they showed me the basic semantics of the business, but I said, any last pieces of advice? Because this was like D-Day. They were gone and it was ours. Any last piece of advice you can give to me? And we were in the office there, and they said, look out there. Do you see the girl out there cooking right now? I said, yeah. They said, her name is Tanya. I said, all right. They said, go ahead and fire Tanya, and everything's going to be great in the pizza business. That was their advice. What would you do with that? I said, I've never met Tanya, gentlemen. Why would I fire Tanya? And they had a whole list. She's always late. Always? Never smiles. Never? Right? She said, never even attempts to look pretty. Like, never looks decent, never combs her hair. I mean, just fire Tanya. She's got a bad attitude. Oh, get rid of Tanya. Everything's going to be great in the pizza business. I was sort of wondering why they didn't do it already.
Okay.
You know?
Do that yourself, man.
Maybe they were scared of Tanya. So, anyways, then they left, and I had this decision to make. Well, what would you do with this?
Yep. Talk to Tanya.
Hey, you already know the answers. My good mother taught me this. People tend to act how you what?
Pizza.
Now let's have everybody say it. People tend to act how you what?
Speak to them.
We're almost there. People tend to act how you what?
Speak to
There
them.
you are. Welcome. Isn't that basic knowledge?
Yeah.
Don't you believe that? I don't know where we learn this along the way that, hey, if I speak ill or negatively about someone, they're going to magically change into positivity. Right? Doesn't work that way. And it's my mother who taught me this. See, my mother has a foot filter. I am 100% honest when I say this. I've never heard my mother speak ill about a person or a situation. Now that's a big mountain to climb, right? But that's just what now, maybe if she did, I haven't heard about it. So, here's how she would hear something negative in this ear and then flip it into a positive. And when it came out of her mouth, it was positive. I'm just anything, flip. I don't know why I'm using that tone, but nonetheless, that's what it is.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. Flip. So I was blessed with this, so I can hear a negative thing and flip it into a positive. And so I heard all this negative about Tanya, and I went out there. I said, I can change everything. Now let me put a little bit more weight on that statement. People tend to act how you what?
Speak to them.
And about them when they're not present. This is the one where you have to build up a muscle. You really do. Because oftentimes we speak ill about people and situations, and magically we're thinking they're going to change into the positivity. Because is that what you want? Do you want them to remain in the negative state? Is that what you want? Nobody wants it. So say what you want to have happen. I was speaking at a university, and it was they brought me in for an orientation big before the school got started, and the parents were there, and students were there, and the packed auditorium, and people were wanting my books afterwards and things like that. And one gentleman came, and his daughter wasn't able to make the orientation, so he attended for, and he came up and he wanted to get a book, and I'm signing books, and I said, hello, sir, and how can I help you? He said, oh, can you sign a book for my daughter? I said, oh, is she here? He said, no, she wasn't able to make it, and he just listened to my whole thing, and I said, what's her name? It's Jessica. And here's what he said, and she's going to be the death of me. And he just heard my whole talk about power of words and things like that. And I said, Jessica, I wrote, Jessica, you are worthy of greatness. You are loved and you are divine. And I took to my team, I said, give me another book. And I said, what's your name, sir? He said, my name is Jeff, but I just want one book. And I said, no, this one's on the house. And I said, Jeff, remember, people tend to act how you speak to them and about them when they're not present. What a beautiful daughter you have in Jessica. She's going to be the life of you, not the death. I think he got the point. Right? So, what happened with Tanya? I went up to Tanya and I said, Tanya, she's over there cooking. No eye contact, head, she kind of knew I was a new guy coming in. She knew the transition was happening. I said, hey, Tanya, I'm the new guy here. No eye contact, she just a grunt. I said, Tanya, I wanted to get her attention. I said, you're not going to believe what that previous manager just told me about you. She was terrified. She was terrified because she thought if anything came out of their mouth, it wasn't going to be what? Good or positive. She actually started walking backwards. She attempted to take off her apron and knew that she was done, that she was going to get fired. And I said, no, Tanya, you must have the wrong idea. They told me, flip, that if anybody could run this restaurant, it was you. She was skeptical that they would say something like that. They also told me, you've been here the longest, Tanya. Is that true? She says, I have been here the longest. I said, Tanya, will you help me? It's not what she expected. Think about those words. Will you help me? What does that do? That immediately puts that person in a place of authority and me in a state of humility. We should be asking for help a lot more. But I don't know where we learned this. It's an American thing, I'm pretty sure, right? I could be carrying an elephant in this hand and an elephant in this hand. And I'm starting, so it's about to crush me, and someone comes, Thomas, do you need some help? No, I got it. I'll do it, right? Aren't we that way? It's so interesting. So when you say, will you help me? It's a connector. It's a bridge. It's a swallow your pride type thing. People want to help. We were born to help. Let them help. Go ask for it. People want to feel important. Well, like they have a part. So I said, will you help me? And it surprised her. I said, Tanya, you've been here the longest. I said, I can see you becoming my shift manager. Shocked her. That I would even say that. She puts her apron back on, and she said it to the floor. Me, a shift manager? And I'm just contemplating the whole thing. And when she came up and looked at me, a big, beautiful smile was on her face. They said she never smiled.
Nice.
People tend to tell you what?
Speak to them.
Good. There you go. All right, we'll get there.
Eventually.
Yeah. So I said, Tanya, why don't you come tomorrow morning and we'll talk about it. Well, guess who showed up early?
Tanya.
Yeah.
She's never on time.
Guess, right? She had her hair combed, stuff on her face. She looked beautiful.
Stuff on her face.
Yeah. And,
What kind of
whatever
stuff?
that means, right? Maquillaje en la cara, and makeup type stuff. Anyway, she looked beautiful. Tanya became my shift manager. She became my shift manager because I spoke to her that way. She'd never been granted the opportunity. Now, here's another thing. When you take the time to get to know people's story, now, key word in that phrase is take. It takes effort. You have to take the time to get to know people's story. You tend to love and appreciate them more. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, if you just walked a minute in people's shoes, not in a mile, just a minute, walk in their shoes, you'll tend to love and appreciate them. I found that nobody knew what Tanya was dealing with. When she would take breaks and stuff, I said, Tanya, when you have a next break or whatever, let me know. I want to come out and just get to know you better. We'll eat pizza, pasta, but dessert, pizza, salad together, of course. And we did. Here's another wonderful question. I said, now, Tanya, tell me what's great about you. Tell me what's great about you. It's a deeper thinking question. And I was surprised at her answer because she said nothing is great about me. But that was her reality. That was her story. That was her perception of what was going on. Now, what happens when I sit down, I'm not looking at my phone, I'm dialed in and I say, tell me what's great about you. I just opened up a space. Now watch, because it's a visual thing. I opened up a space in my heart saying, you have space to tell me something special, important to you. And when people feel they have that space, they'll take it from their chamber and put it in my chamber, and we have the connection. And guess what that's called? Trust. That's trust. So it's the fastest way to gain trust is to sit down and get to know people's story and give them space. And you know when you have a safe space, don't you? You know when you want to share a pearl and you have that space to do that. But you know, bless you. But love is not equal to trust. You got to know this. Love is not equal to trust. I had the opportunity to go to South America for a couple of years and serve a mission for my church, and it was in Cali, Colombia. And while I was there, we had a visiting leader that we call apostle. His name was Russell M. Nelson, and he's the president of this organization now. And he had us all missionaries in there, and he said something very profound. He said, as missionaries, call ourselves elders and sisters. He said, oh, let me be clear about something. I mean, just straight right between the eyes. He said, let me be clear about something, missionaries. The Lord loves all of you. He does. But let me be clear. He doesn't trust all of you. Can you hear him saying that? He's so direct. And it burned a fire in me. Like I wanted to be worthy of trust. The Lord loves everybody, but he doesn't trust everybody. Because he can't count on everybody. Right? And I'm not talking about being perfect, but who's perfect? Nobody. That's why we need him. See, to be loved is commonplace. To be trusted is in an exalted league of its own. I'll say that again. To be loved is commonplace. To be trusted is in an exalted league of its own. And if that's the case in any relationship, in any endeavor, what are we doing to build that? Are we, like an exercise, am I working out with trust, right? And am I building that with other people? Do I do what I say and do I say what I do? There's a whole chapter in my book called Words of Integrity. And what I found is non-committal words create non-committal people and non-committal cultures. Just by our lack of commitment, we're cutting off that bridge. So, well, let me prove the point. Raise your hand if you have somebody you love or somebody's you love in your life. Raise your hand. Keep your hands up. This will be your exercise for this morning. Yeah, me too. I agree. So wait, keep them up. Come on, here we go. Sit and be fit. Okay, sit. My camera guy, where are you at? I need your hand. Okay, where we go.
Yeah, Mike.
So, think of those people. Think of them. Now keep your hand raised high if you would do business with every single one of those people. Oh, we're losing. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Oh, actually, I have one. Sorry,
You have one
put my
person.
hand back up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about the numbers. You can put your hand down now. So, across the world. That's the numbers in Cape Town, South Africa, in Nairobi, Kenya, in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, really, London, England. When I'm speaking all over the world, that's the numbers. Why is that? Because love's not equal to trust. And I want to be a person for other people that if they thought of me, they're like, yeah, no, I can trust Thomas. You understand? But that's up to you. One of the fastest ways is do what you say and say what you do. If you say you're going to be there, be there. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Where people say, look, if is it Christy? If Christy says it, it's a done deal. Right? That's just a wonderful characteristic to have. So, there I am with Tanya, and I said, tell me what's great about you. And she says, nothing. I said, I have a feeling there's something deeper that. I said, you have a safe place to tell me if you're willing. And she says, Thomas, she was 26 at the time. She said, at age 4. What age?
4.
She said, my mother dropped me off at an unstable uncle's house. I have never seen my mother again. 22 years of her life, she doesn't even know if her mother's alive or not. Think about that. She said that uncle was not very nice to me. He abused me in every sense of the word. I tried to escape several times. About finally at age 16, ran away. Are you starting to see why Tanya didn't smile? Are you starting to see why she didn't care whether she looked pretty or not? Are you still starting to see why perhaps she didn't respect men who were in authority, who perhaps spoke demeaning to her? Are you starting to see all this? That's what she wore every day. And nobody knew it because nobody took the time to get to know her what? Story. And once I knew her story, I could embrace that and pour on the love. And I did. She became a powerful, positive force in our restaurant. She said, I do have a 2-year-old son. I said, well, that's great, Tanya. She said, not so great. Haven't seen that boy in 18 months due to some unfortunate circumstances. Think about a mom that hasn't seen their baby in 18 months. So again, she was wearing that. Nobody took. And what did they say? They labeled her, no, she's negative. Don't talk to her. Just kind of leave her alone. Fire her. Everything's going to be great. No. That whole thing got flipped around. To this day, it's been over 20 years. To this day, I know when Tanya's getting a new job. Want to know why? I'm still her number 1 reference. Because she trusts me. And I trust her. He or she who does not trust cannot be trusted. So, if you find yourself saying, I don't trust them and I don't trust them, so you have to put forth, because then it creates a bridge. He or she who does not trust cannot be trusted. I've had people say, I don't trust anybody. After what happened for me, happened to me, I can't trust anybody. We'll talk about that. But you must be able to forgive there too. Because I'm grateful every day when that sun sets and I repent of perhaps some of the things that I didn't do so well. I can say, Lord, please trust me. Please let that set. Give me another chance. And you know what he says every time? I got you. You're in. Every time. It's limitless. It's amazing. And I'm just trying to be like him. So if he does that for me, I'll do it for other people. Quickly. Well, later in life, we were living in Arizona at the time, and we got this prompting to move to Virginia. And so we did. My wife was pregnant with our 4th daughter. Melody had already returned to heaven, and she's buried in Arizona. And the Lord said, go to Virginia. So we did. So there my wife was 8 months pregnant with Liberty, 8 and 6 years old there. And we were I was tow-dolling this vehicle behind this vehicle. And I'd never driven across the country, let alone pulled a car. So I was constantly checking on it. Well, an interesting thing happened. Just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, a place called Claremore, Oklahoma. My wife looked back at this vehicle, and there was smoke coming out. Okay? And it was coming out of the front, so I pulled over to the side of the highway, and I popped the hood, and flames burst out. So there we were, 10:30 at night. It's burned in my memory. The car was on fire. And what do you do with this thing? Have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen a car on fire on the side? Okay, that was us. Thanks for stopping. But the thing is, I didn't know what to, and it was so hot. It was so hot because the fire was right here. I could not unhitch the tow dog. Now let me just remind you what was going on in our lives at that time. Less than a year before, our daughter returned to heaven. This entire vehicle was plumb full of sentimental things like a storage unit. My daughter's pet bunny was sitting in that seat right there in its cage. They just watched it burn. They just watched their sister pass away a year before. I'm at the side of the road, looking at heaven and saying, seriously? Really? Lord? What do you do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. But it was so hot right there, it literally melted the back of our SUV. Melted that thing. That's an amazing conversation starter. Would you agree? This really happened. We roll into Virginia. I had 2 separate Virginia State police officers, sirens and everything, pull me over. And I know I wasn't speeding, wasn't doing anything, but on 2 separate occasions, they pulled me over. They didn't ask for my license or anything like that. I said, what's going on, officer? They said, look, you weren't doing anything wrong or anything like that. I pulled you over because I have to know what happened in the back of your car. 2 separate occasions. And so I thought, that's interesting. So I played with them a little bit. I said, well, officer, if you look at the license plate real close, you can see I'm from Arizona. It is so hot back there, it's melting people's cars. The first police officer said, nah, I don't believe that. And the second one said, yeah. I heard it was melting people's cars. I thought, oh boy, things are a little different in Virginia. Right, so, but I prolonged the time getting that deal fixed because it's such an amazing conversation starter. We made all sorts of friends. Like I said, I've been at the grocery store. I'm trying to back out. One guy, he's walking, true story, he's walking, and I'm trying to back out, and he sees my vehicle, and he stops right behind it. And I'm trying to back up, and I see him. He's like, and he's all, hey, hey. So now there's a crowd around us looking at this thing. I'm trying to back out. Another guy, I'm serious, just have a drink like 4 times that size, a 92 ouncer, right? He's drinking this big soda. He sees the back of our car, and he's going to save the day. He runs up to the side. He pounds on the window, and I said, what's going on? He says, have you seen the back of your car? I said, no, what's going on? He said, I think it's on fire right now. True story. So I hop out of there, and I'm like, throw your soda on it. It'd be a big sacrifice for him, you know? And he did it, so. That really happened. So I had so much fun with this thing. But can you take situations like that and turn them into good? Can you? Can you really realize that things are working out? And there's really a couple ways to respond to this. You can respond with 2 words, which are very victim mentality. There's no progression. You put the blinders on, and it's right here. Why me? When you say, why me, there's no progression. There's no possibility of moving forward. Nothing. It's the shaking your hands at the heavens type mentality. When you say, why me? But if you'll just change those 2 words and add a couple more into 4 words, essentially, everything changes. All possibilities become opportunities. And here's the 4 words. What can I learn? So in any given situation, you change your why me's to what can I learn, you can be taught. The Lord can teach you. The divine can teach you. The situation can teach you. It's there for you. It's there for your good. somehow, some way. Years ago, there was a religious man, a leader in church, an apostle as we call him. His name was Joseph B. Wortham. And Joseph B. Wortham gave a talk, and the very title of the talk alone is worth a sermon. And it was called this: Come What May and Love It. Come what may and love it. Regardless of what comes into your life, love it. See, he could have titled that a lot of different things. He could have said, come what may, because this is what he was saying. Come what may and love it. He could have said, come what may and find the good in it. Essentially. He also could have said, come what may and be grateful for it. He also could have said, and this is probably the highest level, is very come what may and thank the Lord for it. Everything. Gratitude. Gratitude. In my book, there's a whole chapter on gratitude. And it's a healer for people. Let me share, for instance, with you. There's a structure in Tucson, Arizona. Has anybody ever been to Tucson, Arizona? Okay. So a lot of desert. Things like that. My father grew up there, and my parents met there at the University of Arizona. My grandparents lived there for years. And so there's a structure called Biosphere 2. And Biosphere 2 is an amazing structure. What they did is several engineers and scientists put their minds together and said, we're going to create this amazing structure in the middle of the desert, and we're going to be able to grow trees, plants, fruits, vegetables at a tremendous rate because we're going to make everything perfect. The water levels, the sunlight, the humidity, and they did it. Plants, trees, fruits, vegetables grew in weeks, where it might take months occasionally. They were so confident of their work, 8 scientists entered into this building and said, we're going to live in this structure for 2 years straight, never leave, and grow our own food. And they did it, and they did it. Amazing. Then something started to happen. They'd wake up and a tree would fall. They would see a tree dead on the ground and a plant dead on the ground. They thought, that's interesting. Well, brush it aside. Then they wake up and another one would happen. That's interesting. What's going on? Everything was still perfect, but it started happening so fast, they had to shut the whole thing down. Well, they're scientists. They're going to figure it out. So they went to work, and what they finally concluded was this. Oh my goodness. The very reason why it grew so fast was the very reason why it died so fast. It was too perfect. They forgot to factor in a little thing called adverse conditions. That's what they forgot to do. You see, when a tree, a plant, shrub has adverse conditions, it develops something crucial to its existence called stress wood or reaction wood. And without that, when the little winds in life come, if you don't have it, you're done. See, there's no tree that ever curses the wind. It says, thank you. I need you. I have to have you. Bless you, even. Well, what did we just learn from the trees? Do you bless the winds in your life, or do you curse them? Because it's very simple. When you bless them, you get more blessings. When you curse them, you get more cursings. And nobody woke up today saying, I hope life is more cursed today. I hope life gets worse today. Nobody said that.
Please give me more dumpster fires.
Right? You want more blessings, right? So the thing is, are our actions and words congruent with that? So, by the way, also, that very study debunks quarantining. That's what quarantine looks like. We will never have another quarantine situation in our lifetime. So much doo-doo happened in our world because the brilliant person said, hey, let's quarantine everybody. Forgot to realize that we were made for that right there. We adapt our bodies. How's the song go? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Come on.
Stand a little taller.
Exactly. Like we were made for this. And if you shut us down and cover us up, a lot of doo-doo happen in the world because of that. Right? But again, they're going to come. They already have in your life. Do you bless them or curse them? Again, bless them, more blessings. Curse them, get more cursings. Can you even be grateful for the wins in your life? There's a lot of science and benefits to these sorts of things, and I put that in my book, but a neurologist dove into this at UCLA, a brain doctor, a brain surgeon. And what he proved when it came to gratitude and being grateful for all things, I mean all things, he proved, and he recorded it in a medical journal. I don't know if any of you have ever recorded something in a medical journal.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. It takes a lot of research because this goes out to the medical community. He proved that a person cannot be grateful and depressed at the same time. Essentially what he said, his words, his proof, that when a person is depressed, they've just forgotten what they're grateful for. And there's a way to snap that. One of the fastest ways to do it is just write down 10 things and or people you're grateful for. Make it a habit. Very simple. I am serious when I say I could tell you days worth of stories of people that have contacted me from throughout the world snapping depression and anxiety because they've just become more grateful. There's a whole chapter on the language of gratitude, thankfulness, and appreciation. So, it's amazing. It's amazing. There's a classic movie called White Christmas. Who's seen it? Isn't it required for a woman to see it?
Not required.
Okay, it should be.
It should.
We watch it every year. There's a song in there where the two main characters are having trouble sleeping. And there's a beautiful little jingle that goes like this. Count your blessings instead of sheep, and you'll fall asleep counting your blessings. Well, in the 40s or whenever they made that movie, I don't think they neurologically, scientifically realized that that was accurate. Because guess what this neurologist proved? You sleep better when you're more grateful. Who's interested? What if you had a little notepad on the side of your bed, and before you went to bed, you just wrote down 5 to 10 things and or people you're grateful for and focused on that, and just said life is beautiful? Yeah, sounds like some of you might be doing that. But neurologically, scientifically, and spiritually, it works. We are meant to be grateful beings. Because in Romans 8:28, it says this. Essentially, all things work together for good to them that love God. You know what's the best part of that whole thing? All things. It doesn't say some things on Tuesday afternoons. Every single thing that is happening is literally happening for your benefit, if you see it that way. Blessings, cursings. Blessings, cursings. When we got to Virginia, there was another family that we met, and they had a child return to heaven the same time we did. They cursed God. They stopped attending our congregation, saying, how could God do this to us? Our leader came up to me and said, would you mind speaking to this family? Because we blessed God. We were grateful. What can we learn? But it shut them down, put them in the fetal position. Same event, different response. And eventually, they started seeing the blessings in all of it. Right? Again, it could be a blessing or a cursing. Same event. When we prayed after the night when our daughter returned to heaven, it was about 2:30 in the morning, and my wife and I were, you can imagine the emotions. We said a prayer and said, Lord, help us understand. Help us understand. Are we not good parents? We were going to raise this child in a home. We're going to do our best. There's so many homes that their children have terrible situations. Didn't understand it. And when we listened and said, what can we learn? And we're open, not a why me, but what can we learn? Here's the clear answer we got. And this is special to us. But this is a special place. The Lord told us. She wanted to go. She could have stayed longer, but she wanted to go. Because she knew she could do more for your family on the other side. Well, now, we said, thank you. for trusting us with this experience. Thank you for trusting us to have this. And so we have a little angel. My daughters serve missions. That little angel was with them 24/7. Hallelujah. Los Angeles, California. Are you kidding me? My little sweetheart. Parallel parking in Los Angeles. My other daughter riding a bike in McAllen, Texas, down by La Frontera. Our border, rather. Right? But when we're open to it versus, God hates me. This, why are you damaging me? Well, he can't speak to us that way. So do you believe that? I believe that so much. Every single day after we pray, we say that as a family. Everything always works out for our good because we love God as a family. That's our family affirmation. We say it every single day. And if you called my cell phone, Keith, if you called my cell phone and got my voice message?
I did.
Okay, so you can verify this.
Good.
Yeah, that's right. So you call my cell phone, got my voice message, it would say, hey, this is Thomas, I'm so excited to speak with you. And by the way, everything always works out for our good. That's what it says on my voicemail. You know what's great about that? Negative people stop leaving me messages. Like they don't even feel comfortable. I love it. I control my environment. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing you can say or do that's going to crack that. Well, let me just ask you this. Are you all qualified for this? For everything to work out for your good? Are you qualified? Because if I took a survey and I said, who loves God? That's the qualification. I'm confident we'd get 100%. So are you qualified?
Yes.
You are. You're already qualified. But it's that the humanistic part of us that we have to decide, help me see the good in this. Help me see the blessing in this. And then be grateful for it. And even say thank you. Thank you for what I've gone through so far. Thank you. I can look back when my father returned to heaven when I was just 7 years old, and I'm now saying thank you, Lord. Thank you. Allowed me to rely on other parents and men and be who I wanted to be. Right? So your situation, kids are with may or may not have a male figure in their lives. Somehow it's a blessing, if you see it that way. And I recognize some people still see it as a curse, and that's what they'll get, more cursings. You'll find whatever you're looking for. Well, this prompts me. This is such a neat setting because I can dive a little bit more into spiritual feelings and things like that. And I'm not able always to do that in corporate settings. But I had this prompting to write a book, and I never saw myself being a speaker. I didn't even know this was a profession, honestly. I've been in restaurant business, insurance business, sales. No idea. It's just people kept asking me to speak, and that's why I do what I do. That's it. They just say, oh, you should be a speaker. I said, well, that's not a job. What am I supposed to? But apparently it is. And so then they said, you got to write a book. I said, what would my book be about? And that's just prompted me to really question. My message was always about our words. I had this, in a sense, fascination, the power of our words, that we bring about what we talk about. So I started writing this book. And in addition to that, in my insurance business, I interviewed close to 700 people over the course of 8 years and hired around 500 of them. And I could tell a person if they were going to make it or not just by how they spoke. I say, you're going to make it and you're not. How do you know? I can tell by how you talk because I have a BS radar. No, right. I can tell a person's BS in 60 seconds or less. Maybe it's a gift and maybe you possess it too, just by how they talk. Now, you all know what BS is, right? Now, I know we're taping this thing or whatever you're doing, but maybe you can just use good judgment on this part. But just in case you don't know what BS, I'm just going to say it. Your belief system. Right? What's your name here? Is it Amber? I can tell you were thinking something else, Amber. Yeah. You were thinking like bologna sandwich or something, yeah. So, yeah. It's okay. It's all good. I'm a little hungry too. Yeah. Food always comes to my mind. So I can tell a person's belief system just by what they say in 60 seconds or less. And I found that, hey, people would say what they want, or what they don't want, and either way they got what they said. Did you catch that? People would say what they want or what they don't want, and either way they got what they said. Well, it took me about 10 years to write the book, but I finished it in 2018. And in 2019, I spoke in 12 countries in 12 months. And then 2020, something happened in 2020. I forgot what happened. Oh, that's right. My whole year was built out, and almost on a daily basis. Thomas, we're not going to have you come. Thomas, you know what I mean? Everything went virtual for me. It was just, again, did you bless COVID or curse COVID? There are companies that you could call, and they would say, due to COVID-19, we don't have to be nice this week. Like everything was been blamed on COVID-19. Do you remember? In a sense, everything. Go da 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 da. And then there's other companies that would say, due to COVID-19, we really got to step up our game. We got to innovate and improve. And those companies not just survived, but they thrived. And a lot of those other ones aren't even around anymore. Same event. Some saw the blessing, some saw the cursing. Whatever you choose. So here's what, I didn't set out to prove this, but essentially by writing this book, here's what we proved. That when you change your language, you will change your results, you will change your environment, you will change your life. We proved it. Again, I didn't set out to prove this, but it's amazing what came about because we proved that phrase right there. We prove it physically, neurologically, scientifically, emotionally, and at the highest level spiritually. That this is real. The power of the Word. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because, and I was thinking, should I spend time on this or not? And I only talk about this to people who use words on a daily basis.
That's good.
So that's all you too, right? And it doesn't matter what country you're in, because I've done this. The book's in English, Spanish, is being translated into Vietnam. I've spoken there 8 times. And look, I just did a South American tour. I've given a language talk to the general and his colonels in the Pentagon-type building in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Costa Rica, Colombia, Puerto Rico, all over. And it's all in Spanish, but it's the same. Right? When I'm speaking to Vietnamese people, half of them have earphones on and they just translate in the back, and half of them don't. They understand English. And anyway, it's kind of a funny thing. I'll say a little witty thing, right? And half of them will have earphones on, and some will be laughing. And the ones who also thought they understood what I was saying, they put the earphones on and try to understand what was so funny. Right? It's a fun little dynamic. But let me dive into this a little bit, because especially, how many of you have children? Right? Who's ever been a child? Anybody skip that deal? Okay, right in there. So this is important. Look, the chapter I can talk most importantly to you is the physical power of our words. This is the believer. This is the separator. No more skeptics after this one. There's a gentleman who spent the better part of his life, and I'm very grateful for him. His name is Masaru Emoto. And he's from Japan. He's a Japanese scientist, psychiatrist. He essentially dove into the power of the physical power of words and how it related to water. And he wrote this book called Messages from Water. And essentially what he would do is he'd play certain music to the water, freeze the water, and see what crystallized. And then he would pray to the water and see what crystallized. He would say certain words to the water and see what crystallized. So here's some of his findings. It's fascinating. So the first thing was when it came to music. He played a heavy metal song to the water. Now, who knows what heavy metal is? Okay. Who else? Anybody else? You know what heavy? What's your name?
April.
April. Would you sing us a heavy metal song so we kind of know what that is?
Go, April.
You don't have to. But yelling, that's kind of what it sounds like. I mean, even in Tanzania, when I'm speaking there, they know what heavy metal is, but nobody wants to sing it. So, but you know, a heavy metal song is a loud, rambunctious song. Can we agree with that? So he played a loud, rambunctious song to the water. That kind of sounds like that. And so he froze the water, and that's the image that came out. Then he played a song called Edelweiss. Who's heard Edelweiss? Sound of Music, right?
Yes.
He played Edelweiss to the water, froze the water. Here's the image that came out. I just want to make sure you can see the difference. Heavy metal,
How come you didn't?
Edelweiss.
A little bit right there.
Because I don't want it. Dramatically different. Then when it came to prayer, this gentleman's in Japan. I don't know how he prays, who he prays to, what that is. I don't. But the fact is we can agree that he called on some higher power than himself to bless the water. So he went to a local lake called Lake Biwa. Scooped up some water, just wanted to see what the current status of the lake was. That was it. Then he and some colleagues prayed on behalf of the water. What does that mean? That means they were, picture this, us here praying on behalf of Fish Lake down the road. That's what they did. They were in their office and said, bless Lake Biwa. Then they traveled to Lake Biwa after pronouncing the prayer in their office. Think about this. Scooped up the same body of water, froze the water, and that's the image that came out after the prayer. Now, to me, that gives me new meaning to praying over my food. I don't know about y'all, right? But that's changed the status of the water. Amazing. Yeah. Came to words. He would say certain words to the water, freeze the water, and here's the image. The first word was evil. Look what evil looks like. Anybody want to go to evil today?
No.
It's like you're flushing yourself down the toilet, right?
It looks like a black hole.
Yeah, it does. Not a great place. Then he said, love and gratitude. Look at this one.
Can I go there?
Yeah, let's go there. Isn't that amazing? It's like beautiful diamonds. Then he said, you disgust me.
Ah. Ew,
Then
what?
he said, arigato. What does arigato mean?
Thank
It
you.
means thank you in Japanese. The whole thing was in Japanese. That's what thank you looks like.
Wow.
Then he said, you fool. Look at you fool. Now, I'm just making a comparison, but you fool looks like heavy metal to me.
Yeah.
Very similar. Yeah. Then eternal. He said eternal, or life everlasting. That's what eternal looks like. Seeing the difference, aren't you? Now, some of you might be, if you're like me, I'm kind of a check it out for myself type of guy. Is anybody like, or not a guy, but a gal? So I'm like, that's great, Masari Mount, 2 years of research, all these degrees. But I'm going to check this out for myself. Right? We homeschool our kids. Right? And we do. We homeschool our kids. We're always doing homeschooling projects. So I went to my daughters in Richmond, Virginia, and I took 2 glasses of Richmond, Virginia water. And my daughters were 8 and 6 at the time, and I said, girls, you know in our home we don't use negativity, we don't use vulgarity, stuff like that. We know, Dad, you're the words guy. And I said, but today, for the sake of science, I'm going to let you let it rip. Now, to an 8 and 6-year-old, I'm not sure what they knew what that meant. So we came up with some nasty, terrible words, and we wrote them down. And I apologize in advance. I'm going to put them up on the screen. It's stuff you would never say, but here's what they came up with. You can't do it. I hate you. Despair, iniquity, ugly, stupid, jealous, shut up, stuff you never said.
Never.
Right? And then I said, girls, say these words to the water. You must know I did not tell them what faces to make. I'm glad I took a picture, because look at their faces. Cursing that water. Opposite of negative is what? It's positive. So then we came up with some positive words. Here's what they came up with. Faith, hope, charity, I love you, you can do it, I believe in you, pretty, beautiful, you're awesome, divine nature, you're champion, powerful, confident. And then they started drawing pictures of our family. I thought that was positive. I'll let you guess which one I am. Then I said, say the words to the water. I did not tell them what faces to make, but look at their faces. Completely changed. Isn't that fascinating? I didn't tell them what faces to make, but it just, the countenance completely changed. So, we had to freeze them. So I put the negative over there and taped the water, taped the negative words to it, and the positive on the left. Yep. And then, okay, this is my little secret. I separated them by 2 Atlantic pieces of salmon. Which had nothing to do with it. I did this presentation up in Anchorage, Alaska, where your brother lives. And I said Atlantic pieces of salmon. They about shot me. Because it wasn't Alaskan salmon, right? Is there other salmon out there? Does salmon grow anywhere else? It was a fun little thing. So anyways, we froze it overnight, and in the morning, none of us could have possibly imagined what was going to happen. I opened up the freezer, and pedazos de vidrio fell out of that freezer. What does that mean? Pieces of glass fell out of the freezer. This jar on the right exploded like a bomb went off. Completely like a tsunami, imploded, boom. Glass was there. I carefully chiseled out that block of ice. Look at this thing. Complete implosion. Complete dysfunction. It was ugly. It was stupid. It was jealous. That's what that looks like. The positive jar stayed together. Now, because of the expansion of water, one complete whole, a piece in its entirety fell up the front because it expanded on the positive, and a little bit of the bottom, but you can see that the jar is still intact around. And look what happened on the inside. A beautiful swirl formed on the inside. It became powerful, confident. Lovely, beautiful. Guess Masaru Emoto had something going, didn't he? He was right. He was absolutely right. You can do it. Maybe some of you have done this research.
With rice.
As well, because rice holds what? Water. That's right. They can do it. You can speak positively and negatively, and then here's an additional one. You can have a third jar with rice or just water, and just ignore it. Give it no attention. Give it no attention at all, and it will fade away. It'll grow fungus. Now, here's what I believe happens. Back to speaking love and kindness into people. Here's what I believe. That when we're born, we're branded. Look, I know whose we are. So do you. I know where we come from. So wouldn't it make sense that we're branded? So I believe we have this invisible sign on our chest that says this: I am loved, I am divine, I am worthy of greatness. I believe we show up to this world that way. Would you agree with this?
Yes.
Every potential. And that sign, when we have positive experiences in our life, it gets brighter and brighter. And when we don't, it gets covered up. Think back to Tanya. Tanya has a sign too. I am loved, I'm divine, I'm worthy of greatness. But you couldn't see her sign. Why? Because it was covered with abuse, resentment, hatred. I'm ugly. Nobody wants me. I'm worthless. And when I came up to her and spoke love into her, it's as if I could physically see one of those layers fall off. And another one fall off. And another one. Then finally I said, there you are, Tanya. You are loved, you're divine, you're worthy of greatness. And she became not a new person, but who she was always destined to be. So here's your opportunity. And this is why I put so much emphasis on speaking love and kindness into people. And we have our traditions, our love traditions. Because here's what we're doing. All you're doing is you're just shining people's signs. Just go around and shine people's signs. Have you ever physically seen this? You give somebody a compliment, you say something great about them, and they physically light up. You've seen this? Like they light up. That's what happens. My whole mission and my vision of my company, one, we significantly improve the language and mindset of more than 1 billion people worldwide, but essentially our tagline is, we leave you better than we found you. That's what I'm all about. I must leave people better than I found them, or I'm not even interested. Someday on my epitaph, on my headstone, and when it's time for me to leave this earth, on my gravestone, it will say this: Thomas Blackwell, he left the world better than he found it. Do you? Will you? Is the situation better because you showed up, or is it worse? When you show up, is your presence encouraging or discouraging? And again, that's where I could tell your BS. Just start talking. And I'll tell what's happening. And here's something else that you need to know about. You do not get what you deserve in life. Let me be very clear about that. You do not get what you deserve in life. You get what you expect. And I can tell a person's expectations that fast just by how they talk. See, companies will hire me. They'll come in and say, hey, we want to change our culture, Thomas. We want to change our culture. And I was speaking to an huge oil services company in Shreveport, Louisiana. 300 employees. The owner comes in, he hires me, I'm coaching him personally, I'm coaching his team and executives. He says, we want to change our culture. I said, give me 20 minutes. Give you 20 minutes? We've had this culture for years. You're 20 minutes? I said, yeah, let me just go hear people talk. I'll tell you what's going on. I just hear their expectation. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you expect. And if you want to change your expectations, change your words, change your language. So you might say, Thomas, how does that apply to me? I'm not a jar full of water. Or are you?
Yeah, we are.
Does it, right? In a sense, how many have water inside of them? How much water? Anybody know?
70%.
Okay, this is where people start throwing out numbers. So, if you're gonna put it in a book, you have to be accurate. So, because it's in the book, I'm gonna tell you the exact numbers. It's at different levels. A newborn baby and in their toddlerhood is comprised of 78% water. Think about our children. Who's ever heard this? They're in their formative years. Who's ever heard this? Literally, our children form to how we speak to them, what they listen to, in a higher sense, how they pray. And how we pray over them. So, full-grown man, 65% water. Full-grown woman, 52 to 55% water. Those are the accurate numbers. So, in a sense, the majority of our makeup is H2O. And if the water responds this way just on a scientific level, think we ought to pay attention? Because it responds. See, think about this. Have you ever had someone, or maybe you said it before, I'm so mad I'm boiling on the inside. And you see their face and it's red, and sometimes even steam coming out their ears. They literally might be boiling on the inside. That's what happens when we get heated. Why does your body temperature go up when you get angry or contentious? Because the water starts to, hey, let's get steaming up here. Interesting. Well, the way I explain this is through the captain and the crew. Any ship, whether it's a cruise ship, commercial, military, whatever, there's typically always a captain. There's always a crew. The crew obeys the who? Always. 100%. No disobedience. Because if the captain says to the crew, I want you to sail towards the promised land, what does the crew say?
Okay.
Yeah, there's a specific phrase they say.
Aye, aye, sir.
Aye, aye, Captain. Boom, you got it. So picture this. If the captain says, sink the ship, what does the crew say? It's the same. There's no disobedience. I was speaking to a group of Navy SEALs in Dallas, Texas. Now, who knows what a Navy SEAL is? Some of the most elite military people on the planet. I believe, and they said, to become a Navy SEAL, you go through this training, and if you don't die, you become a Navy SEAL. Right? These guys, I mean, they're just these elite soldiers, tons of respect. I just said that little phrase right there. I said, the crew always obeys the captain. Some Navy, he pops out of his chair. Mr. Blackwell, he said. I said, yes, sir. He said, let me be very clear. All of us in this room essentially have been on a ship. If there's an ounce of disobedience to that captain, you're off that ship that fast. That's how clear it is. No disobedience. If he says, sink the ship, you just do it. So let me bring it around. You're the captain. This is your ship right here. Your body. Your immediate sphere of influence. And it obeys everything you say. Aye, aye, Captain. And I wonder how many people sink their ships on a daily basis. Oh, it's Monday. Nothing good ever happens on Monday. Aye, aye, Captain. We'll get right to work to make that happen for you. And they do. You get what you expect. I love Mondays. Mondays are great. I'm always meeting great people on Mondays. Aye, aye, Captain. We'll make that happen for you. And you can see why people lead different lives in the same world. In the same circumstances, but different results. Because they're commanding their crew differently. I never get a parking spot. I'm always having to walk late. Aye, aye, Captain, we'll make that happen for you. Other people, I'm always getting great parking spots right where I want them. Aye, aye, Captain, we'll make that happen for you. Oh, the weather gets a little turny, a little tossy-turny, a little windy. My knees always hurt when the weather turns. Aye, aye, Captain, we'll make that happen for you. Make sense? And it literally happens. See, there's a gentleman I'm very grateful for. His name is Dr. David Hawkins. And Dr. David Hawkins has written many books, and he's studied many things, and he's a very spiritual guy as well. But one of his books called Power versus Force brings this home for us, how powerful our words is. What he proved is the kinesiology around it. He proved that when a person speaks positively, they're strong. When they speak negatively, they're weak. And it's real. And so the question becomes, how do you speak to yourself and how do you speak to others? So I'm just going to prove this to you. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I keep going back to her. Okay, so young lady right here, she's writing some notes. Yes. Why don't you come up here? Give her a hand. She's excited. So what is your name?
Amanda.
Amanda, beautiful name. Amanda, right? Have we met before? Have you read my book?
It's feeling familiar, so I don't know.
You would know.
Okay, probably not.
Okay.
Maybe I've heard of things you've
That's
done
okay.
before.
So, but the answer is not yet.
Not yet.
There you go. Okay, so not yet. Sometimes I have to help people with their words. So anyway, so Amanda, have we met before?
No.
We have no idea what I'm about to do.
No.
Is the last 4 of your social 2975?
No.
Check,
No.
think about that one.
Okay. So, because I know all my friends' socials, so that I know that's actually key social. So just kidding. Just kidding. No. So the thing, it's important that you know we have not rehearsed this. She has no idea of what I'm about to do, and that's important. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Okay. Are there any injuries in your shoulder?
No.
I was doing this one time, and the guy said, "Not yet." Aye, Captain. We'll get right to work. Make that happen for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove this kinesiology and prove the power versus force, that you are the captain, your body's the crew, and only responds to what you say. Are you comfortable if I put some pressure on your arm? Okay? So what I want you to do is face the crowd right here. Face here and make sure you're getting these well, maybe we don't have cameras. So right there. And get in a power position. Kind of, there you go. In a strong position, I want you to hold out your arm there. And I'm going to press down significantly
Okay.
on your arm.
Okay.
Okay? In attempt to get you down, you're going to attempt to
Resist.
resist me. So you're the captain. Here's the crew. It only does what you say, Amanda. I want you to say, "I can do it." Let's go.
Okay. I can do it.
You can do it.
I can do it.
Was I pressing hard?
Yeah.
She was laughing. My face was going red. So you're very strong. I was pressing hard. I should have stressed out. Should have thought that through. All right. So you said I can do it, and your body said, "Okay." Boom. We're strong. I want you to hold out your arm again. And now what I want you to say is, "I can't do it." Go ahead.
I can't do it.
Let's do it again for the people in the back, Amanda.
Okay.
Okay? Go ahead. "I can't do it."
I can't do it.
Was that for real?
Real.
Okay. So, what just happened? By the way, that time I used one finger. I put one hand in my pocket. Before, I got myself I was putting weight and I couldn't budge it. Okay? So the difference is, your body says, your captain says can, boom, strong, can't, weak, sink your ship. Now there's positive words and there's negative words. Powerful words and powerless words. So, what we're going to do now, some of the most powerful words in any language are "I love you." Would you agree? Okay? You're going to say "I love you." Hold that out. And if you want to pick out somebody specific, that's up to you. Okay? Say "I love you."
I love you.
Say it again.
I love you.
Keep going.
I love you.
Was I pressing hard?
Yes.
Couldn't budge her. I felt the love, wherever that was for. Very good. So, opposite of love.
Hate.
You were going to say "I hate you," but don't pick out anybody. Here we go. Pull it out.
I hate you.
Interesting. That was my left hand. Let me use my left pinky, and I'm right-handed. Here we go.
I hate you.
Was that for real, Amanda?
Yeah.
Why would you ever say "hate" again? About anything. Your crew doesn't know the difference. You say "I hate vegetables." Sink. Why would you do that? Why would you say that? Let me make a spiritual point here. I'm going to have you answer these questions because it's and I love to ask it this way in whatever setting because everybody knows the answers. What is the best-selling book of all time? It is. In the Guinness Book of World Records, nothing is even close. It's the Bible. So let's give it the credit it deserves. Is that fair? So the very first book in the Bible is what? It is. It's Genesis. What was created in the beginning in Genesis?
Very beginning.
Light, heavens, earth, all these things, right? Who created it? God. How did he create it? His words. He spoke it into existence. After he created the heavens, the earth, and everything therein, who did he create? Man. In whose image? You know the answers. This is great. So think about this. This is perhaps one of the most important things I'll say today. God created everything that we see around with his words. Then he created us in his very image. What does that mean? He gave us the power to create our worlds by what we say. And you have, and you will, and you are. You created everything in your life because you're the captain. So we take responsibility for it, right? Everything. Well, I didn't do this right. That's victim right there. And if I want something to change, I change my expectation by what I say. Now, there's even, I don't want to do this, but I was just reading this. It showed up for me. This is a book like the Bible. It's additional scripture. There's a book called Jacob. And Jacob 4 says this: we can truly command in the name of Jesus, and the very trees obey us, and the mountains, and the waves of the sea. For behold, by the power of his word, meaning God, man came upon the face of the earth, which earth was created by the power of his word. Wherefore, if God being able to speak, and the world was, and to speak, and man was created, oh then, why not us, able to command the earth, or the workmanship of his lands upon the face of it, according to his will and pleasure? This is real. So, everything we say, the crew says, aye, Captain, and goes right to work. Right? So, only say the things you actually want to happen. Because they have, they will, and they are. Okay? So what I also want to tell you, that if you say things that are not congruent with the divine, who are they congruent with? Opposite of the divine, which has a lot of names: adversary, Satan, devil, right? The person who cares about your misery, not about your happiness, and does everything in his power. Well, guess what's happened? Guess what's happened? Somebody mentioned Isaiah today. I think it was it you that mentioned Isaiah scripture?
Isaiah 54.
So Isaiah, also in Isaiah, says this: beware, for man will make things, and essentially the devil will make evil look good and good look evil, essentially. Is that happening today, you think?
Counterfeit.
Counterfeit, right? Evil look good and good look evil. He's doing it with our words. And we're saying words that we think mean one thing, and they're actually sinking our ships. Have you ever said this? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who's already said it today? Right? That's crazy. It's because we've been taught to say this. Well, get in your power zone, hold out that arm.
Okay.
And I want you to say, that's bless you. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I want you to say, here's another one. That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't that interesting? Was that for real?
Yeah.
So we've been taught to say that when something is totally believable and phenomenal and awesome and fantastic, to say that's crazy. You know what kids are saying these days? That's sick, man. That's insane. Right? Let's just test it. I'll come to you just a moment. So say that's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah. Devil talk. Say that's sick.
That's sick.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Say that's sick.
That's sick.
One finger. So why is that devil talk? Because think about crazy. What does crazy mean? Out of control. Is God always in control?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm discrediting him when I say that's crazy. What do I want to say when that's crazy?
Amazing.
Amazing, powerful, phenomenal, intriguing. Was there something?
Yeah. So, I know that a lot of people say, like, when something's funny, oh, I'm dead, or whatever.
I died laughing.
Yeah. So I changed that. I don't say it anymore. I say I'm screaming, or
Yay.
hey, that's funny. Like, I cut that word out because I know, like, the power of your voice is a lot. It manifests.
So good. Do you all hear? The basic thing, there's an old fun movie called Sandlot. And one of the favorite lines in there, growing up, you're killing me, Small. And to my group, my team, my organization, I would say things like, you're killing me, you're killing me. My wife started having dreams of me dying. And she comes in one night, she's just in tears. She's, I don't want you to die. I said, wait, Thomas, you're always saying you're killing me. And I'm the words guy. So I had to recognize, oh my. There's songs about it. Think about Michael Jackson. You know he's bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, all this stuff, that's fat, man. That's this. No. All that's weak stuff. So I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Instead of saying that's crazy, give me a powerful, positive, heavenly word.
That's incredible.
Another one.
That's astounding.
Another one.
That's beautiful.
Okay, was that for real?
Yes.
Couldn't budge it. Sailing towards the promised land versus sinking. Evaluate what you're saying. How you're describing things. All saying that very sneaky, subtly, he's made good look evil and evil look good. That's what's happening. Think about unbelievable. Is that anywhere in the best-selling book of all time? No. Moses, you just parted the Red Sea. That's sick, Moses. That's crazy. That's unbelievable. Nowhere. God says, be what? Believing.
Funny.
Be believing. That's his words. We've been tricked to say some different things. Stay there. We're having fun with you.
We are.
Okay. So, what about commitment words? I wasn't planning on doing this, but I feel like we should. There's a chapter in my book called Words of Integrity. And non-committal people have created non-committal cultures and non-committal societies by what they say, non-committal language. Think about this word. Ready? Is your shoulder doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. One finger. Say, I'll try.
I'll try.
Say, I hope to.
I hope to.
Say, I think I can.
I think I can.
Come on, Amanda. Say, maybe.
Maybe.
Say, oh, here's one you may not have thought of. I'll do my best.
I'll do my best.
Devil talk. Why? There's no commitment. See, in the Bible it says, let your communication be yay, yay, or nay, nay. Everything else is actually evil. If you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to be it, be it. Can you imagine me asking my wife to marry me? Sweetheart, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? She says, maybe. I think so. We'll see what we can do. I'd have never done that deal, right? There's no commitment. So if you're going to be there, be there. There's no try. If you're not able to be there, guess what? Say, I'm not going to be there. That's a commitment. I can work with that. We're going to do our best to try to make it and see, maybe have a good day. Maybe be a good person today. But does this happen?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to try to go do something great today. No, go do something great. Okay, give me a commitment word. I'll
Do it.
Hey, there we go. I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Say I will.
I will.
I'm committed.
I'm committed.
Love it. Was that for real?
Yes.
I'm going to give Amanda a book. How about that?
Woo!
All right, Amanda. Amanda, you are a gem. Is that true?
Yes.
Aye, aye, Captain. Very good.
Thank you.
All right, you bet. So, you might say again, Thomas, what am I supposed to do with this? Where am I supposed to go with this? Remember I talked about setting the sun and rising. You may have had different habits. You might have said crazy every day of your life. I don't know. But not anymore. Because now you know the meaning of it. Let it set. Let it set. Here's what you do with it. That phrase right there. That's what you do. That's your new filter. Only say the things you actually want to happen because they have, they will, and they are. Only say them if you actually want them to happen because they have, they will, and they are. If you don't want it to happen, change it to what you do want to happen. I never win anything. Aye, Captain. I'm always winning stuff. Yeah, me too. Great things are always happening for me. See that? All right. Do words affect our environment? What do you think? Wowzer. They sure do. So, young lady in the very back with the glasses. Come on up here.
She cannot.
That's why I picked you. Come on up. And by the way, do you want to change your language on what you just said? Did you see that though? Because she said she hates being the center of attention. The crew goes, aye, aye, Captain, and it buried you. Am I right? Okay. Well, see, here's the thing. It's not that, it's not that you can't, it's that you won't. Think about can't versus won't. People say, I can't dance. No, it's you won't dance. Because you're afraid of what might happen, the emotions around it. So you being the center of attention, there's emotion around it. When you eliminate those emotions, all of a sudden you're okay. Because are there times in your life when you're going to need to be the center of attention? Yes. Would you prefer to love it or hate it?
Love it.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you see the body language?
So maybe, I guess.
Look at the body language. Yeah. Does your crew believe you right now?
No.
Do you want to, are you okay with being center of attention?
Yes.
Hey, did you feel the grounding? Yeah. I felt that too. Did you feel the grounding?
Yes.
Because you decided. So you've been playing in this sinking world, like you're up, treading water, up and down. What's your name?
Alicia.
Alicia, pleasure to meet you. A-L-I-C-I-A. Very good. Alicia, have you read my book?
No. Not yet.
There you go. So Alicia, you have no idea what we're about to do.
No.
Okay. How many of you know Alicia?
Me.
Everybody? Who loves Alicia?
Me.
Everybody does. So Alicia, and by the way, what's interesting is I never pick random people. Yeah. I go until a light bulb goes over you, essentially. And it's God telling me, but I'm serious. I don't. I always pick the right people. So, Alicia, would you agree these are 2 blank pieces of paper?
Yes.
Can I get confirmation on that? 2 blank pieces of paper. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to shine Alicia's sign. Speak love and kindness into her, because she is loved, she is divine, and she is worthy of greatness. You're just going to give me some beautiful words, speak characteristic about her. I will start. Miss Alicia is beautiful. Go ahead.
Powerful.
Smart, powerful,
Brave.
brave, kind,
Loving.
determined, loving,
Beautiful.
beautiful,
Love.
amazing,
Bright.
calm, bright,
Sunshine.
sunshine,
Bright.
Happy.
happy.
Joyful.
You said you weren't the center of attention? All right. Here's the big question. Stand right up here. In the center. Was that what they were saying?
Yeah.
I wrote down fast. Are they true?
Yes.
Feel the grounding there? Let me just tell you something. Sometimes I'll get it from especially kids in schools and universities. They don't receive. They'll say, I hope it is, or I don't know, or this or that. So what oftentimes we do, Alicia, is we literally reject the good. Oh, you're so beautiful, kind, bright, shiny, all these sorts of things. And you're and that's what we do. We swat away the good. No, it was nothing. And our body language is rejecting the good. So when people speak good about you, here's where I put it, right here. In the chamber that circulates life for me. I say, thank you so much. I pop it right there. Thank you so much. Now, if somebody says something attended toward me that's not positive, guess what I do? Not true. I swat that thing away with that. No, that's not happening. Boom. Everything is rejecting that because I control my environment. I control my ship and who gets on board. Do you see that? So, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to do similar like we did with Amanda. Are you comfortable with that? Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Any shoulder injuries?
No.
You okay? Okay, I'm going to have you take this and put this. You're not going to say anything. I just want you to put that against your heart. So put that against your heart with your left hand. Hold out your arm. And I want you to get in a power zone, strong position. Step up just a little bit. Thank you. And I'm going to press down significantly.
Okay.
Okay? You're going to resist me, but you're not going to say anything. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Yo. Yeah, wow. Woo. Very good. You were very strong. You might be stronger than Amanda, but don't tell her. Okay? Now, you're very strong. That's a blank piece of paper, would you agree? Okay? The moment you've all been waiting for, we are no longer describing her. But we are going, these are not meant to her, but I'm going to give you full autonomy, green light to say some of the doo-doo words, but no swearing at me. This table right here, no swearing at me. Okay? Okay? Sometimes I feel stuff. So, did you go ahead and give me some of the doo-doo words that sometimes show up in your life? Hate, ugly, what else?
Worthless.
Worthless, lazy.
You're a bad mom.
Stupid.
Come again?
Bad mom.
Ooh.
Crazy.
Bad mom, crazy.
Difficult.
Difficult, unworthy, selfish.
A
Alone.
waste of space.
Just poop. Yeah, okay. What was that?
Waste of space.
Waste of space. Wow. Okay. What else?
Alone.
Alone.
Worthless.
Worthless.
Better off dead.
Bet. Okay. Better off dead. Okay,
Got
that's
that one
enough.
too.
We're about to fall over up here. So, I'm a little concerned they got more excited about that list than the other one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But would you agree that's what they were saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just clarify something. These are words on a piece of paper.
Can we just throw them away?
That's it. And I agree.
That was hurt.
Let me work through it.
Sorry.
But just words on a piece of paper. Think about the simpleness of this. That's it. I wrote them on a piece of paper. Does this have the power to sink her ship? Really?
Yeah.
Let's see. Put that against your heart. You can think about whatever you want. Get in a really strong position. Okay? You're not going to say anything. You just tell me when you're ready.
Ready?
Was that for real?
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Left pinky. Ready?
Yeah.
So let me hold that for a moment. Oftentimes it's not other people saying this to you. It's you as the captain that's saying it to you. And if you're telling the crew, you're worthless, you're ugly, you're all those things, you pretty much said, sink this deal now. Sink it now, right? Now, here's what's beautiful about this. I was doing this in, where was it? It's Johannesburg, South Africa. Big group. A lady pops out of her chair in the back. She said, Mr. Blackwell. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, what if you're in a negative environment, but you're thinking positive thoughts? Does the mind have the power to overthrow that? Who says yes? Who says no? Who didn't vote? Who's not going to raise their hand no matter what I say? Gotcha. All right. So, I had the lady come up, and we're going to do it with you, Alicia. You're going to put this in your environment, and you are going to say in your mind, I love you, I love you, I love you. Positive thoughts. Amanda was the strongest when she said, I love you. Okay? Put that against your heart. Get in your power zone.
Was that the bad word?
That's the bad
Okay,
words.
all right.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
I say it to myself.
In your mind,
Okay.
just over and over again, say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. So you're in a terrible environment, okay? Let's see what happens. You're ready? Tell me when you're ready.
Ready?
Little stronger, but you see how I dropped her with one finger with no effort? Was that for real?
Okay.
Okay. So, give that back to me. There was a wise grandmother that once said to me, she said, Thomas, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And she was saying, yes, who you hang out with, who, but also what you hang out with. You show me what you look at on your phone. You show me the books you read, the shows you watch, the books, the article, whatever that is. You show me the words in your environment, and I will show you your future. Sailing towards the promised land or sinking your ship. Think about that and how easy we have media so fast. And what media is doing. Is it positive or negative? How do you feel afterwards? You ever listen to a piece of media and you feel like a piece of dirt? Mm-hmm. Right? It's because it's sinking, it's driving you down and sinking you down. So I am a hawk for that. If it's going to do anything to me, I don't let it on board, ever. I haven't had social media for 3 years. And I speak all over the world. People might say, oh my goodness, you're an author, you're just a shit. No. Lord said, get off it, and I got off it. I've been on social media for 3 years. Because I just recognized how damaging it was in my particular space. So, now, what you also saw is that I just debunked something. Oftentimes we think, oh, just think positive, you get yourself through the deal. She sunk. She sunk. She was a little stronger, but I still sunk her. So you see how you can take the biggest, strongest, best person, toss them into the mud, and they're still going to get dirty. That's how powerful environment is. So do you control your environment? Now, also, what we also just debunked is the mind is a filter, and it's not the commander. Because the captain doesn't show up to the crew and say, for the commands of the day, all right, crew. Okay, get to work. Said it in my mind. Nobody heard it. Here's the commander. God didn't say, I thought it up and just in my mind had some thoughts and the world was created. No, he spoke it into existence. Yeah. Here it is. We are blessed to think before we speak. Who's messed that deal up before? Right? Like we put words out there. We wish we would have gotten back. But the Lord has blessed us to think before we speak because he knows once we speak, it's done. Está hecho. That's what they say in Spanish. There's no getting it back. If we've said relationships have ended because of stuff people said. Wars have started because of stuff people said. Most do, actually. Interesting. In the Navy SEALs taught me this too. Before they speak, they have a filter, and it goes like this. They stop, they listen, they pause, then they respond. SLPR. Because a lot of times they're in hostile situations that something they say might mean life or death. So they stop, they listen to what's happening, they assess the situation, listen, and listen takes consciousness, then they pause and recognize, is what I'm about to say going to be helpful or hurtful? Encouraging or discouraging? Better or bitter? And then they decide to say it. We would be blessed to have that filter. SLPR. Stop, listen, pause, respond. Because when you say it, it's done. Now, I'm going to put the bless you. I'm going to put the negativity back in your environment. You are actually. Is that the negativity? Yeah. Step right up. You're going to say what you were thinking. What were you thinking? I love you, right? The last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold that out. Get in your power zone. Still in the negativity. She's going to say what she was thinking. Tell me when you're... Oh, go ahead.
So say I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Keep going.
I love you.
Keep going.
I love you.
Come on.
I love you.
Go.
I love you.
Come on.
I love you.
Was that for real, Alicia?
Yeah.
The word wins. The word wins. When you speak up to the bully goes away. And these are just bullies. When you speak up to the bully becomes a coward. In the best-selling book of all time, it talks about casting out these powers. Some of the words are, get thee hence, Satan. Get thee behind me. So when you see an adversary climb aboard on your ship, you have the power with your words to say, get out of here. You're not welcome. And you can cast it out just like that. But oftentimes we let it on board and we take it to the cafeteria and say, hey, you want to drive? And come on, right? And we just let it fester there. And that's why you wonder why it drives you down. But the word wins. Isn't that amazing? Yes. Now, I'm going to write 2 words on here. And you're not going to see what they are. We're just going to see if it makes a difference. Okay? So you're going to put this back in your environment. Not going to look at what I just wrote. Put it there. You can see these are the positive. Those are the negative. I added 2 words to that do-do list. And I'm going to have you just not say anything. You can think about whatever you want. Hold out your arm. what should happen right now? Yeah, and she's not saying anything. Remember how we tested the mind before? But I just put up 2 words in there. Let's see what happens. You ready?
Okay,
In your zone? Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Here you go.
I'm assuming the words are not true. I feel like you
Not true.
What are the 2 words I put on there?
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
The Lord woke me up this morning. And he said, these people need to hear that. That when you take his name upon you, he's already swallowed all of it. All of it. All you have to do is take him with you. And you'll get through any situation, in all situations, when his name's with you. Just by me writing his name amongst all the hatred and the ugly and the worthless, his name swallowed it up on a piece of paper. And you were the strongest you were, ever. The Lord woke me up this morning. And I just happened to be there, and I always read every morning. And I went to bed like at 1 and maybe at 2, but I've been traveling all day, and I was planning on getting like another hour's worth of sleep, and I knew I had to get right into it. And this happens to be exactly where I'm reading, right here, right now. This particular book's called Alma, and it happens to be chapter 7. And it says about this Savior, and he shall go forth, suffering pains and afflictions and temptations of every kind, and this that the world might be fulfilled, which saith, he will take upon him the pains and the sicknesses of the people. So when we include him, he takes on everything. So take him with you, wherever you go. In fact, he's always there. And make sure you call upon his name. So I'm going to give you a book, Alicia. You did great. You want to keep that paper? Yeah. You can crumple it. You can do whatever you want. So Alicia, Alicia.
Yes.
You are a champion. Is that true? You are worthy of greatness. Is that true?
Yes.
There you go. Give her a hand. There you go. Yeah, I wrote fast, but you can
That's
have
all
it.
right, thank you.
There's another bookmark in there. So that just became a lot more real for a lot of people, didn't it? Yeah. Check your environment. And even if you're like, my environment is terrible, well, bring the Lord in. Lord, be with me. And he is. In your life, you're going to have a culture. In your family, relationships, whatever that means, work environment, if that's your case, communities, churches, whatever it might be. You will have a culture, but there's 2 separations. You have a culture by design or a culture by default. You'll design your culture, or it'll just be whatever the wind is blowing that day. And the fastest way to create that culture is by what you say, to check who's getting on the ship, to check what's happening. And so when someone says, oh, that's crazy, I'll say, how about we say that's awesome? That sounds better. Okay, you got it. I just spoke to an entire mission of missionaries, and I had to change that for the whole mission because that's crazy. Because crazy was everywhere. Right? And it just can't be congruent with what they want to have happen. So, again, an environment check. What does yours look like? And if it brings you sadness, let it go. Let it set. And recognize how you're going to change it and let something rise with it. It's very simple. Give no power to the past. None. Only to the present and the future, because the only thing we control is what? The present. So I give all my power, all my energy to only the things I can control, which is the present. No power of the past. Now, here's a phrase. In our moments of frustration, when things aren't going our way, the Lord manifests somehow His mighty hand, how He was orchestrating things all along. In that pizza business, again, we had amazing team members. And I was always finding amazing team members. Why? Because I said so. You see how I did that? You know how many people I talk to today that say, I can't find any good labor. I can't find any good help. There's no good employees out there. And I say, what? Aye, aye, Captain. Is that what you want? What do you want? No, I want good ones. Then start saying that. And you will attract them, because success is not pursued, success is attracted. Right? Success is attracted in anything. So I want to be attractive as a business, as a person, relationship. Is my communication attractive? A grateful person is very attractive. A depressed person, nobody wants to hang around them. So again, success in anything, if it's relationships, business, community, church, is attracted, not pursued. When I pursue something, I'm chasing something. Well, if I were to chase any of you, although we have a little connection, I look like a fairly nice guy and these sorts of things, if I chased you, you would run. That's a natural reaction, right? But if I attract and we build bridges, it's just a whole lot different. So again, attract, positive language. So I was in the restaurant business, and what seemed like almost every day, probably every other day, people would come in and apply for work there. We just had a wonderful environment. When the word gets around, when there's a great spot to work, and I would say, thank you so much. I have my staff, my team's great. I'm all set, but fill out an application. If the case ever comes that we need somebody, we'll go through these applications. So I had a stack of applications about like that on my desk, just in case I ever needed somebody. The thing is, I just never needed anybody. Everybody was great. And then my team members would come up to me as well, and they would say, hey, if you ever need somebody, my brother, sister, cousin, friend, somebody, let me know. Because, but the thing is, we are always set. So they had people they knew, but we were always set with a great team. Well, the day came when I need somebody urgently. One of my key employees transitioned, and we needed somebody right away. And I thought, in 5 minutes, I'm going to have somebody. I have a stack of applications. Everybody knows somebody who wants to work here. And finally, the day came when I needed somebody. So I just went into my office, and I just started calling application after application after application after application after application after application. Nobody needed work anymore. Seriously? One day everybody wants to work, next day nobody wants to. Sound familiar? Right? So all of a sudden, I go to my employees and say, hey, remember that cousin, brother, sister, friend you said wanted to work? Do they still need a job? I say, no, we're set. They're good now. I don't know. Nobody knew anybody? Seriously? At that point in my frustration, I went to my office, closed the door, and that's when I prayed. That's when I prayed. Lord, you know I need somebody. What's going on? And I felt a little reprimanded. I felt like, he was saying, why didn't you ask me in the first place? You ever said that to a kid? Right? Why didn't you ask me in the first place? Or your parents ever said that to you? I'd have told you, but we think, no, I got him and do it myself. Right? And once I felt humbled, he said, pretty clearly, go ask Norma. Norma was my last chance. She was out cleaning the dining room tables, and she's the only person I hadn't asked. I went out to Norma, and I said, Norma, so-and-so just transitioned from here, and we're much in need of a new team member. Do you possibly know anybody? I thought she was going to kiss me. She said, oh my goodness, really? My sister-in-law, Rosalina, she needs work right now. They're in desperation. They're going to lose their house. They don't get work right away. I said, oh, that's amazing. Call her. Get her down here. Within 30 minutes, Rosalina is there at the all-you-can-eat pizza, pasta, carrot, dessert, pizza, and salad business for $2.99, dressed like she's interviewing for the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, she is just majestically, I'm like, this is a pizza buffet, ma'am, right? But she looked amazing. So I brought her in. She only spoke Spanish, so we did the interview in Spanish. And she worked out fantastic. So grateful. And then she says, how do you know Spanish? I said, well, I don't look like I speak Spanish. I could have been offended, but it doesn't matter. I said, well, it's because I was a missionary. for my church. And on my thing there, on my shelf there, I always have the book that we help people with. It's called the Book of Mormon. And I had some in English and Spanish. I took one down. I says, because of this book. And I turned it over and showed her the name of the church. And she goes like this. And she starts to cry. I didn't know my interviews were so emotional, you know. But she said, your people were in my house last night. I said, our people? She said, yeah, the little guys with the tags. Whenever I'm talking to the missionary, I have to apologize. I said, sorry, she called y'all little guys. She said, the little guys with the tags. And I said, why were they there? She said, well, they knocked on our door and we've been listening to them. And we were telling them last night our dire circumstance. That if we didn't get work, they were going to evict us from our apartment. And one of those little guys pointed at me and said, Rosalina, I promise you, in the name of Jesus Christ, somebody will call you for work within 24 hours. How bold was that? Are you starting to see now why nothing else worked out? Because the Lord was working it out, like he always does. And I must have, in frustration. So there she was. And as you might have guessed, had I started with a prayer, he would have simply said, go ask Norma. But how oftentimes the Lord commands us to pray always. Pray always. And in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own, and in all thy ways, and he shall. In all, there's that word all again. Not just sometimes, everything. So can you pray more always? Even when everything's lined up, I know where to go, I know the direction, I know stuff like that. Can you pray even then? And that's what it tells me. Can I pray more always? And in addition, there's also the scripture in Doctrine and Covenants 90:24. It says, pray always and everything will work out for your good. That's a great promise. Pray always and everything will come together. Another one, 37:37 in Alma. Pray and the Lord will consecrate your performance. In all things, in all thy works, counsel with the Lord. So can you just counsel with him on more things? I mean, things that you thought, Lord, is this the best dinner tonight? Build up the muscle. Is this the best dinner for my family tonight? Is it best for my child to go do this sleepover, even though we know the family? Is it best for my child to go to this party, even though we know that family? Is it best for me to make this call? I'm a little hesitant, or whatever. Pray more always, and he'll consecrate your performance. And you watch how this muscle builds up more and more and more and more, to where it's never a guessing game. Because it's not supposed to be a guessing game. That's why we started this with that. And I had you pray. Because it's not a guessing game. Where did we learn, probably from the adversary, that it only has to be a guessing game, especially when it comes to decisions? False, lie, deception. Never. He tells us. Well, there's the scripture right there. In that scripture, it also says, be believing. Be believing and all things will work out for your good. Essentially, have trust, have faith that everything's going to work out. I have permission to share this last story with you, and then we'll wrap up. Not too far from here, there was a family whose father trained up his 4 or 5 boys to be artists just like himself. The father was a brilliant artist and trained his boys to paint and draw so good that they could provide very well for their families in the world with their artistry. And several of them did. One particular gentleman who's given me permission to tell his story, he started painting for the world, painting beautiful pictures and selling them and doing very well. One day, police knocked on his door and they said, we're so sorry, sir, to report to you that your wife and daughter were just in a car accident and they were just killed. His only daughter. 1978 this happened. It crushed him in such a way where he pled with the Lord. He said, I will no longer paint. Like he gave up painting. That brought him joy and it was connected. He said, I'm no longer going to paint for the world. I'm only going to paint for you, Lord. You're going to have to tell me what to paint and when to paint it, or I'm not painting ever again. And essentially, he turned his gifts and put his hands in the Lord's, and there's where he went. Well, he started painting for the Lord as impressions started coming. And organizations use these paintings, and you may recognize some of them. Have you ever seen this one before? Have you ever come across this painting? What about that one? You ever seen that one? What about this one? A lot of times in primary rooms and things like that. I use this one on my mission every day. The gentleman's name is Dale Parsons, and he lives in southern Utah. He is the art director at, it was Dixie State College, what's it now?
Utah Tech.
Utah Tech. So he's the art director there. And that's him. That's his story. Well, each painting has a story behind it. So he came and did a meeting for a lot of us, and he just brings this box of paintings, and he'll pull one out, and he'll say, hey, let me tell you about this one. Hey, let me tell you about this one. And everyone has a story. His pattern is to find models, take a picture of the models, and then paint them. And so he'll put them in a setting. So those right there is actually 2 people, 3 people. And he takes a physical picture, a photo of it, and then he blows it up, and then he paints in the models. They called him to say, hey, we're building a very special building called the Temple in Rome, Italy. And we want the murals to be magnificent. Because if you've ever been to Italy, in the Vatican, these places, the artwork is absolutely majestic. And we want this temple to have, and it's going to take a year-long project, and he says, well, I'm busy, I'm not able to do it, but call my brother, he can do it. Like, that's how good they are. So his brother, Dale's brother, for a year, goes to Rome, Italy, and paints these murals. And here they are in the visitors center, wherever you can go. You can see the original 12 there, and I took my wife there for our 20th, and but look at the lighting coming over the Savior. Majestic. Amazing. Well, let me tell you about one of the paintings. And again, he's giving me permission to share this. Just to show you how much he relies on the Lord and how much he prays, like I told you, praying always. So one day he's reading in the best-selling book of all time, and he gets this notion he needs to paint a painting about the Lord rescuing the one. Rescuing the one. Leaving the 99 lambs and going and rescuing that one lamb. And he has this image in his mind of the Savior triumphantly coming out of a canyon with the lamb over his shoulders and just triumphantly rescuing this lamb. And that's his image. So he goes to the church and he says, hey, I have this image. Will you contract me to do this and commission me to do this? And they said, yes. So then he goes to work on who's going to be in the painting, who's going to be the Savior. Well, he's in his class one day at what's it called? Utah Tech. And Dixie State at the time. And a gentleman walks into his class, one of his students, and the Spirit says to him, that's your guy. That's the guy who's supposed to be the Savior in the picture. And he just doesn't go up to the boy and say, hey, you want to be Jesus? Right? He searches him out, like he checks him out and that sort of thing. And what he finds out is that he's the star quarterback on the football team. He's the star pitcher on the baseball team. Just an amazing athlete. And he also finds, just a strong boy, and he also finds out that this boy turned down a multi-million-dollar contract to play Major League Baseball to go serve a mission. Truly a special boy, right? And so he goes up to him and says, hey, as you know, I paint paintings and things like that, and I feel like I'm going to paint this painting, and I have this impression that the Lord would like you to be the Savior in the painting. And the boy says, no way, I'm not doing that. Your paintings are everywhere. I'm not doing that. You can imagine walking down a church building, you see a picture of the Savior, and he's like, hey guys, that's me over there. You know what I mean? He couldn't handle it. So, but Dale did something very brilliant. And this has helped me as a father know how to serve my children better. Dale didn't say, but I got an answer. This is what I prayed about it. And you're supposed to do it. No, he said, I can appreciate that. And he turns them to the Lord. And says, well, you go pray about it. And I'll respect whatever you get. But you pray about it. Here's what I've received. But I want you to receive it. And this has worked very well with my daughters. Here's what Mom and I have prayed about. But guess what? You pray about it. Get your answer, because then you own it. Well, a few weeks later, the boy finally comes back and says, okay, I feel like I'm good with this and I'll do it. So he said, great, here's what's going to happen. There's a spot up in southern Utah, just above St. George, called Snow Canyon. And he says, the sunset is perfect there. If you get it just right, Snow Canyon just right. And he says, I have an outfit that I want you to wear. I have a wig, so you can look like the Savior. And I've got to go eat a lamb, a real lamb. I have some friends who breed lambs, and so I'm going to go there and do that. And he says, but I got to tell you something. I need to apologize in advance. When it is the time to go, we got to be ready. And my car is not the best car. And going up this hill, it's a little steep, and it often overheats. And I'm just telling you in advance, I'm sorry if my car overheats on the way. I was very conscious of this. So then Dale goes to the lambs, right? To his friends who have the lambs. And he prays over each one. And the Lord says, none of them. None of them will work. But just can't you use any lamb? Nope. He prays over every one. So he goes to his friends and, hey, can y'all crank out some more lambs? Because I need another batch or whatever. I'm sure he said it different. So they have more lambs. And finally he goes again. This one, this one, this. And then finally there's one over in the corner. It's sickly. It's kind of a rebel. It's squealing. It's crying. And very clear, Spirit says, that's the one. He goes to his friends and said, okay, that's the one in the corner. They said, no, Dal, you don't want that one. We don't even know if that one's going to live tomorrow. It's sickly, it's a rebel, you don't want that one. And it's like, that's the one. Of course it was the one. Even in the imagery, that's how real it is to the Lord, right? He wanted the lamb to be in a very needed state. So the day came. They got the boy dressed up as Jesus. They get in his old rickety car. They go pick up the lamb. The lamb, you can imagine, it was his first car ride. They put him in the back seat of the car. The lamb is squealing, running back and forth. It's terrified, hanging out the window. And they get up halfway up the mountain, and the car goes pop, 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 pop. And it overheats like you thought it might. So I want you to imagine this scene. You have a car over the side. The hood is popped. Smoke's coming out. Jesus is on the side, going like this. There's a lamb in the back going like this, right? People are driving by going, did you just see what I saw? Jesus on the side? Right? Now, and people in St. George say, yeah, Jesus is out there all the time. It's no big deal. But this was the scene. So finally the car cools down, and they get up to this spot, and it's perfect. The sunset's coming right through Snow Canyon, and the boy, and Dale has his nice camera equipment, and he turns to the boy and says, okay, grab the lamb and look triumphant, whatever that looks like, right? And he tosses this little lamb on the back of his shoulder that's always scared and terrified and could hardly lift up its head, and it's all over, and the wig is going backwards and sideways, and Dale's trying to take the picture like this, and try this and try that, and nothing's working. Nothing. And he has this moment. And he looks at heaven and said, Lord, I've done everything you told me to do. Everything. Down to the lamb, I've done everything you said to do. I've lived the way I'm supposed to. And this? You ever felt like that? I've done everything I thought I was supposed to do. How am I facing this situation? And in his heart, he didn't tell the boy what his feelings were. He just said, thank you for doing all this. And I'm so sorry. Maybe there's a deeper lesson. And he says, let's just pack it up. Maybe I'm just not supposed to do this. Picture. And the lamb's still crying and squealing. And Dale turns around and starts packing up his equipment. And to go. And when he turns around, he notices almost suddenly that the lamb stops crying. And it was so sudden, he turns over his shoulder and he notices that this strong, amazing warrior of a boy takes the lamb and he just loves it. He just starts petting it. And he's saying, I've got you. I've got you. You're safe with me. And the lamb just stopped. Now the lamb's head was so weak it couldn't even lift it up before that. But the lamb lifts up its head and just rests it on the boy's chest. Got enough strength to do that. It finally felt loved, divine, and worthy of greatness. Because he spoke into it. And now Dale's just looking full on at this and seeing this scene. And the Spirit says to him, take the picture. That's the one. It's always been the one. And because of that, here's what we have. The Lord made a weak lamb strong. That's speaking love into it. I suppose you'll always look at that picture different from now on, won't you? Isn't it amazing when you get to know the story behind things? Isn't that amazing? Well, the great leader, Gordon B. Hinckley, said this. He said, you keep trying, you keep believing, be happy, don't get discouraged. Things will work out. And he was quoting Romans 8:28, as he knows, and he lives by it. All things work together for your good because you love God. Isn't that beautiful? So everything you've experienced so far in your life has happened for you, if you see it that way. And great things are to come and to continue to come if you see it that way. Blessings, blessings, cursings, cursings. Takes courage, doesn't it? Takes courage. I'll just put that up there and I'll end with that. And you can just read it. But it's been an absolute delight to be with you. Can you believe it's been 2.5 hours? It was worth every effort I had to come up here. And again, I want to thank you for that opportunity. I wanted to contribute to this movement in a way. So I signed, and I'm giving you all books. I have every single book for every single person. I got to tell you something interesting happened. I went to bed pretty late. I was pretty tired. I got in Salt Lake, drove 3.5 hours to Richfield where I stayed last night, and I drove an hour and a half to get up here this morning. And switching time zones, all these sorts of things. And I said, I'm just going to go. I'm not going to sign these books and these sorts of things. The Lord woke me up, had me read that, and said, you sign those books for these ladies because they're worthy of greatness. That's what came to me. So every single one of your books says, you are worthy of greatness. And then I signed it. So God bless you. Thank you so much.
So great to have Thomas here with us. I